Hi guys, welcome back to another Golf with Jack video. This one's super exciting for me. You've seen the thumbnail, you know that I've got a new set of Taylormade irons. I just went and picked up the box. I'm super excited to I'll unbox them and unwrap them and show you guys them brand spanking new. They look gorgeous, I hope. Before I unbox them, I'm just gonna give a bit of a summary of what my experience was like in a couple of dot points. There are lots of other videos showing club fittings and stuff, but personally for me, it was a brand new experience. I hadn't looked at anything like that. I just went in thinking, I'll just hit some clubs and then he'll sort of stand at the back and say, oh, that's that price, that's that price. That wasn't it at all. In summary, so I rocked up, he did lots of static measurements, which was basically like height, I suppose measurement of how high your hands are off the ground as well, so that they can make sure the clubs are the right length, because they can adjust the shaft length if you need them to. Then I had a really quick hit, so I hit about 7 to 10 shots with just some random iron they had there to get warmed up, to get sort of into a groove of what the club speed and the swing speed would be out on the course. So that I wasn't really tight when I started doing the measurements. Then the measuring started. So the first interesting thing they do is they give you just a random club. They basically stick a sticker underneath the club and then also on the face itself, and then get you to hit a couple of balls. The one underneath the sole of the club, it's basically seeing how your contact with the ground is when you come through with just a normal neutral iron. So if you're closer to the toe, they can then bend it, they can offset it, so that then your natural swing isn't gonna be too toey or too heely when it actually comes through. That was interesting for me. The other thing is they put a sticker on the face so that they can see whether you have more of a toe or a heel strike. So one of the other things they do is when you're swinging, they make sure to measure your average club head speed. That's a lot more important than I thought. The main thing that impacts is your shaft. I knew there were different shaft settings, like there's regular, and stiff and extra stiff, and then women's, which is a bit more whippy and junior. But I didn't really know what impact that had. If you have a really quick club head speed, you want it to be as stiff as possible, because otherwise it's going to be too whippy when it comes in. You're not going to be able to control it as well, and it's just not going to be as good of a strike as if it was more optimized to your swing. Once you get into the 90s, it's like a stiff shaft, and then tall players will all be extra stiff. So I got to stiff shaft. That was really interesting as well. So once we'd done all that scientific testing and he crunched all the numbers with spin rates and launch angles and stuff like that, my fitter was able to choose, I think it was about 6 club heads that were suitable for me. I went through and hit them. We then looked at the numbers again. So you look at the launch angle, you look at the impact angle, the smash factor, and then also the spin rate is really important. So if it spins too little, it's not really going to go high, but if it spins too much, it'll go high but won't go far enough. So if you're longer irons, especially if you're trying to hit a 4-iron 180 plus meters or whatever it ends up being, whatever your distance is, and your spin rate gets too high, it's just going to balloon up and isn't going to go that far. So then that's not a suitable 4-iron for you. That's not going to be beneficial at all. So we had a look at those numbers and picked sort of the 6 club heads that he thought would be the best for me. So it was like a Strixon, a Callaway, a Titleist, a Mizuno, my Taylormades. I hit all of them, and then once I'd hit probably about 5 shots with each of them, he showed me the most important sort of piece of data that we got out of this. He shows you the dispersion maps. So if you hit 5 shots with an iron and they all land within like a blanket of this big, that's a really good sign, because when you're on the course, you want consistency. You want your irons to work well. You want to have a consistent shot shape and a consistent landing point and distance with your irons. If it gets even bigger and there's one that's going 20 meters left and one that's going 400 meters right, that sucks. You can't stand over that club and be confident when you hit it. So the dispersion maps were really interesting, because I would hit some clubs and go, oh yeah, I'd hit probably 1 or 2 really good ones and go, oh yeah, this is the club for me. but then you'd look at the dispersion maps and the 3 bad ones had gone so poorly the wrong way compared to some of the other clubs that it just clearly wasn't the right club for me. Eventually, using this process, we got down to about 2 or 3 clubs, and then personal preference came into it. So along the way, I'd go, oh, that feels better, or that feels worse, or I really like the feel of this one. That personal preference would definitely feed into it, but it wasn't a big deal until the end. And then when everything started feeling similar, I was like, I really like the look of that, and personal preference could go into it. And at the end of the day, I settled for the clubs that everyone wants to see and I want to see, that just looked gorgeous, which were the Taylormade P770s. They look so nice, and I'm gonna go get the box and show you guys them and finally unwrap them, because I'm super excited to get into that. Okay, here they are. So, big box, pretty exciting. They've got their own little foam protective head covers that they come in, which is nice because that means that they're not going to get absolutely wrecked when I take them out here. Okay, I've gotten one sort of little foam head cover set of these now, and I'm going to take one of them out. So they look so nice. I think the idea was these are, I think they're in between like mid handicappers and low handicap irons, because this little, what looks like a screw that's a seal in there. So they injected foam into the head, which is basically in the cavity here. That's meant to provide forgiveness and distance on these irons. But as you can see, the heads are still pretty small. Oh, they look so nice. So happy with that. Whew! Tell me that doesn't look beautiful. So stoked with that. Can't wait to go and try these. All right, I'm gonna take the plastic off. Oh. Ooh, baby. Check that out. Like, it's got that little cavity back, but you can't tell, like they're thin, the top line's still pretty thin. It's like a little bit wide, but it's still so nice. Oh baby. All right, so I've unwrapped them all. The set, pitching wedge through 4-iron, pretty standard. They're all looking gorgeous. Really happy with how they look. They're as good as advertised. Highly recommend. I'm really excited to go and hit these. The other thing I'd point out is what I was saying before. If you look at the top edge of this, you can't really see the cavity back behind. So the cavity's not huge, but it's big enough that if you saw it, it might be a bit worrying, especially if you're a lower handicap player and you're looking for classic blades. It's probably a thicker top edge than some of the bladey blades. But if I had a thinner top edge than that, I'd probably honestly be quite scared hitting this 4-iron, because that's verging on a very tiny club that you need a lot of skill and a perfect swing to make contact with. So I think these look really good at address. I still think, looking down at address, these still look plenty big. Another thing worth pointing out is the finish on the face, which is pretty standard for a lot of irons these days. Looks pretty good. Like, it looks quite sturdy. It looks like if you hit that a bunch of times, it isn't going to scuff up. And the reason that I point that out is I've seen a lot of people getting really excited about the black alternate for these. And yeah, they look really cool when you first open them, and you're going to look like your Batman playing golf for the first round, but it's not going to look that good for that long. Like 2 rounds in, they're going to look pretty bad and scuffed. And if you want to buy a set of $2,000 irons and then have them looking pretty ordinary in a couple of rounds, that's up to you, but that's not really what I'm looking for. So I'm a lot more happy with the classic finish. They look good enough as is. Like, they might even look better than the black ones because they're so shiny. They just look so nice. It's a shame that this is probably going to be the nicest they will ever look. Look at these grips. So they're just pretty classic golf pride, like tire grips. They feel quite nice. The Taylormade logos on the underside, so you don't see the address. It's not distracting at all. I'm gonna go have a hit with these. So I might actually put that in this video because I don't know, who doesn't like people hitting golf shots with new irons. So let's go have a hit. So I just went and had a hit for the first time with these, which was really fun. They felt really good. So quick dot points. The head was it's actually a lot smaller than my current irons or my previous irons, which I thought was going to be an issue, but they look really solid. So they've got a reasonably thin top line, but they do, even though they're blades, they look forgiving, which is a bit weird for how sort of classically small they look. So that was a really good sign at address. The other thing was they were definitely more forgiving than my current irons. So I hit a couple out the toe. That's my bad shot because when I come over the top, and they didn't really lose that much distance. The other major thing I noticed that was a real positive for me was they were so much more penetrating than my current irons. So that's probably something to do with the fact that I got personally fitted for them. So the spin rate and the launch angle and everything was to my personal optimization. That emphasizes that you should go and get fitted for clubs if you're going to spend a lot of money on them. Get them to your specs. I wanted to show you the damage. So I went and hit probably about 100 shots just with this club. And you can see it's a little bit scuffed, but it's not really that bad. Like, there's a little bit of wear and tear towards the toe here. And that's from 100 shots. For comparison, so that's the new iron that I've just gone and hit shots with for the first time. And then here's a wedge that I've had, these ping wedges that I've had for probably, I don't know, at least 5 years now. And you can see that the scuffing on that doesn't get that much worse. And to be honest, again, that's why I got these over the black version. With the black version, if I did 100 shots like that, this would be wrecked. Like, it would be so noticeable looking down at a dress, which would be such a depressing, like, it's not a fun feeling if you look down at a dress and you see so much damage after such little. Like, I only hit 100 shots, and I'm hoping that if I have this for ages and practice with them a lot, I'll hit thousands of shots each with these irons, essentially. So it's good that they've held up. They're obviously going to lose their luster from the perfect initial look, but it's really the back of them that are the most attractive part. So all in all, I was really happy with the performance. So excited to use them during an actual round. All right, that's all from me, guys. If you're thinking about checking out some new irons, definitely consider these if you're a mid to low handicapper. They feel great, they look great. I'm in love with them. So thanks so much for tuning in, guys. If you like what you watched, please know that the option to like and subscribe is there if you go below the video. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. I'll see you guys soon.